So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about all the different scams that newer actors might fall for. And these aren't necessarily like scams, but it's where you're going to spend more money than you actually need to get started in the industry. In my channel, my aim is going to be for actors to be able to start off confidently and make sure they're making the most out of their investments. So my first thing is how to spot a scam agency. There's a lot of agencies, especially if you live in a bigger city, that are really good to be with. Some of them are more selective on the higher end, and then they call themselves a boutique agency, so they're only going to have like one actor for each type. You know, your type is like your age range, how you look, hair color, eye color, all that jazz, and your energy more. It's like, oh, are you on the quirky side? Are you more serious? I know for me, I could do like leading, where it's like the leading like role, but also I kind of fall into more the character actor because I'm just naturally kind of quirky. I have a sense of humor. I get into trouble sometimes, but I'll get more into this video. But with scam agencies, oftentimes you'll hear ads on the radio about them, be like, hey, you want to be on Disney right now? You want to be on Nickelodeon? Come to this audition. And usually those are with schools, and these schools aren't necessarily like a scam. They're going to teach you something, but I know people who actually taught at these schools and they weren't where they really wanted to be. Like they couldn't even get an agent for themselves, and they're teaching people how to get into the industry, which does, like, I love them, but I wouldn't feel morally right teaching these people when I'm not going anywhere myself. But to each their own. Everyone has their own cup of tea. Sometimes with agencies that are a little questionable, you'll have a husband and wife or family working together, and there's the agent, but in order to be signed, you have to go to their photographer, which is going to be an enormous fee, like $1,000 for headshots that are only that agency is going to take. I'll just put it that way. And yeah, they're going to want you to do like a whole portfolio, and I've heard stories about how once you get that portfolio done, you're just in a file cabinet. They signed you, but they don't do anything for you. They don't submit you for auditions. They don't follow up to say, hey, this is the feedback I'm getting back from casting directors. They just, boom, file. So you just gotta be careful for that. And also a lot of these agencies that are like commercial schools, they're going to have a secret location. Like I see it sometimes on Indeed where they're looking for teachers at an undisclosed location or mystery location. And a lot of talent sometimes, when they're newer too, will be contacted from these agencies and say, hey, we'll come to you. No, don't fall for that. An actual agency has an office. You can look them up on Google for different reviews, and you will be able to see other experiences. And also, feel free to use Facebook as a resource. If you ever feel like you're in a questionable position, every city has like acting in Chicago, acting in New York City, acting in Atlanta. Feel free to join those groups and ask your questions because people are going to help. And the great thing about actors is we help each other, so if they know it's a scam, they're gonna let you know about it. Acting class scams. And this is when the promises from these acting classes are way too good to be true. And the claims that the teacher is making up or claiming doesn't add up to reality. Like, you could have a teacher who could claim, oh, I could whisper into your ear and you'll be an amazing actor. Believe me, that is a true story, and I'll get into that in another video one day when I'll get more into safety. And the classes aren't taught by people currently in the industry. I know I touched a little bit about this in the first part of the video where these teachers are having a hard time themselves getting an agent. and they're not booking their own work. And if you want to go to a teacher who booked a huge role even 20 years ago, they're not going to know what's going on in the industry right now. It's like maybe they know what happened in Hollywood 20 years ago, but you want someone who's currently working and booking, and their students are booking. So sometimes that does come with a heftier price tag, but there are good schools, reputable schools, that you can look them up on Google. Agencies recommend those classes. And even if you're a new talent and you don't know which classes to go to in your city, you could always, there's a lot of, like, in the Facebook groups especially, there's free webinars where you can scope out those classes for yourself. You could talk to other students on Zoom. That's the beautiful thing about Zoom, just so you know what you're getting yourself into, to make sure it's a reputable place, because you're going to be spending your own money. You want to make sure it goes far and to the right people who are not going to just rip you off and put you in a position where you're not growing like you need to. Okay, and the last part of this video is material scam. And I mean, you're still, like, a lot of these real cams or overpriced headshot photographers you're still gonna get your product, but you don't need to be getting like 10 different headshots as different characters when you first start out. You need one commercial, which is a cheesy smile, and the second is more serious. Like, I know I'm not doing the best face right now, but it's more for like a serious role, like doctor, lawyer, detective, and that could all be seen in your expression. You don't need to be doing 20 different headshots when you're first starting out, unless when you get to a SAG franchise agency. SAG franchise is Screen Actors Guild franchise. They could say, hey, you know, these casting directors who are casting for these shows like photos like this, and then when they lead you, do it. But when you first start out, you don't need a bunch of photos. And you could find a photographer under $100. I know there's some in Chicago and then other cities. You could start as, you know, low as under $100 and go a couple grand. But I would say, like, try usually good photographers that have a following, and then you'll see their work. You could almost recognize their work on different talent agents' websites, and then also go to their Instagram page. A lot of times they're gonna, you know, tag the agency on Instagram, and you'll see, okay, these agents like this photographer. And a lot of times, if I'm not saying it's gonna necessarily work, but it'll give you a better chance to be taken seriously if you go to one that these agencies work with, because it's kind of like a clout thing. They recognize their work. But that is for headshots. For reels, you don't need to go to an overpriced demo reel camp. I see some in my city from $500 to $1,000. You don't need to do that. In every city, everywhere where they have a college, they have a film department where students are casting their films, and you could audition. A lot of times you'll work for free in exchange for your footage for your reel.